And everyone thinks they're sacrificing. I need to sacrifice my exercise obsession. I need to sacrifice my food control. I need to sacrifice my super lean body, which caveat, you don't have to have a super lean body to have HA, but they feel that or they're even sacrificing that dream, right? You get to the other side and you're like, oh, this is great. Like, oh, extraordinarily more amounts of happiness are available to me on the other side of a sandwich. Who knew?
Hi, fans and listeners. Welcome to the Female Athlete Nutrition Podcast. Our guest today is Dani Sheriff. She is the founder and CEO of the HA Society. Dani's expertise comes from many years of research and time spent in the nutrition, sport, and fitness industry, as well as being trained to use the fertility awareness method as a diagnostic tool as a certified fertility awareness practitioner. She helps women recover their missing periods, optimize them, and get pregnant or avoid pregnant naturally. She lives in Austin, Texas with her baby girl, Zara. Dani, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me. I feel the need to put a caveat. I'm co-CEO. I have an amazing partner. She deserves all of her credit. So I would hate for her to not get that credit.
Yes. And what's her name?
Her name is Ashley Smith.
Yeah. Ashley Smith and Dani, the co-founders, co-CEO of the HA Society. Yeah. Wonderful. I'm so excited to have you on this podcast because I just shared with you that I've actually been aware of your work. I don't even, just the internet, the social media, like came across your stuff. It's doing its thing, the tags. So I've been aware, and you have a podcast as well. I've listened. I've definitely listened to a couple episodes. It was a while ago, but you've been doing it for a while.
Yeah, we're like on our way to 400 episodes.
Yeah,
for sure. So I think I've had it for almost 5 years. 5 years.
Yeah, well, me too. I've done 5 years, but I don't think I'm at 400 yet. I think I'm approaching 300.
Well,
so
I did, they've gone through stages of like 2 episodes a week and things like this. So it'll chug away at the numbers when you do it like that.
Yeah, I've been pretty consistent at 1 a week, and then a few missed weeks. Like I'd say I probably get like 46 episodes a year.
Yeah, amazing. I don't know how, but somehow I have never missed a week.
Yeah, that is amazing. It is. It is. My missed weeks happen like because I've got little babies now. And so it's like, oh, summer did not go as I planned, like childcare. I did not get to record an episode. But you know what? It's like both you and me, it's like we've got 5 years of recorded episodes that are free for people to access and download and learn. So I used to put all this pressure on myself of like, I have a weekly podcast, I need to make one. And then I'm like, if somebody wants to, they can listen to an episode from 4 years ago that they didn't listen to or totally forget by now, because I know people are not memorizing all my stuff.
Yeah. Or you're right. You're right. That makes me feel better if I do need to miss them.
Yeah. But no, you go, girl. Way to go for never missing a week. That's amazing.
I've definitely missed other things. It's just the one thing that's just been rolling for sure. So yeah,
you've got a system in place. Well, again, thanks for joining. So obviously, I'm aware of your work, but I want this episode to really like start from scratch. So I've spoken of hypothalamic amenorrhea and a missing menstrual cycle on my podcast and my platform quite a bit, because it definitely is something that can happen to female athletes for a variety of reasons. And we know it's not good. So I do speak about it to encourage people that this is a red flag. This is not a good thing if you're not getting your menstrual cycle, and why it might be happening and how to heal it. And this is really what your whole business is built upon, is the HA Society, the Hypothalamic Amenorrhea Society. And just in case, as you talked about, even though I've had this podcast for 5 years, just in case I've got a brand new listener this week who has never heard my show, your show, maybe has never heard of this term HA, I want to make sure that this episode like starts from the beginning of defining it and talking about it. So as an expert, Dani, what is hypothalamic amenorrhea?
Yes, it's the absence of your menstrual cycle basically really simply due to you don't have enough energy coming into your body to run all of your bodily functions. And so reproduction gets put on the back burner. I've tried over the years to come up with like more and more simple ways of explaining this. And it is actually really simple, but I'm going to try like the way when people ask me in person when I meet them randomly,
Mhm.
like at pickleball court or something.
What do you do
Um,
for work? And you have to just
yeah,
describe
and I
that.
go
Yeah.
exactly, and I
Yeah.
go, "Have you ever, like, heard of girls missing their periods from exercising?" You know, like gymnasts,
Mhm.
and they'll be like, "Yeah." I get that, but people don't realize it's very, very common, and it doesn't just happen to elite level, high level athletes. It can happen to anyone, and 99.9% of the time, it's a woman, obviously, who loves her exercise, very prominent issue in the running community,
Mhm.
and they also tend to diet and control their food. Is those 2 things
Mhm.
create the complete and total loss of a menstrual cycle. But I want women listening who do have their menstrual cycle still to pay attention because you can be on the spectrum.
Mm.
You can have a light period. You can have your periods really few and far between.
Mhm.
You can have them be very close together. These are all potential signs that you have low hormone production due to your lifestyle. So I'm very passionate about this topic.
Yeah, so in my work as a sports dietitian, I work with a lot of athletes, and yes, as it's kind of this known thing. Oh, high level athletes might miss their period, but in your work and experiences, you don't have to be a high level athlete at all. This is happening to people who exercise and diet, which is something that is pushed upon us in the
Yes.
US for a variety of reasons, that it's assumed that dieting and exercise is a good thing, right? That's just like this assumption that people
It
have.
it's not only an assumption, it's, like a criteria. Because you know what a conversation I've been having recently. Do you have an Apple Watch?
Garmin.
Okay. You know how people's Apple Watch is always telling them to, like, move?
Oh, yeah, my Garmin does that too. Yeah.
Okay, your Garmin does it too. Well, I learned recently that the Apple Watch, there's no like, setting to turn that off. So,
Yeah.
it's so assumed that it is the right thing to be doing for absolutely everybody across the board that it's not even like an option
Wow.
to have your personal technology not pester you about it
Mhm.
because they're just like, in what possible circumstance would this not apply to someone? You know, so that's how ingrained it is in our culture.
Yeah. Yeah. And that takes so much personal accountability to be like, to recognize that this might not be the right thing for me. And therefore, I need to now not wear an Apple Watch. Like that
Yeah.
takes a lot of personal accountability if,
Yeah.
if you don't want that message in your face all the time. But yeah, I think my Garmin has a few more settings. At least I can adjust things, I think, but it'll still suddenly like 9 p.m. be like, time to move. And I'm like,
What?
no. I'm like,
You're like,
no, it's not.
I just did an hour and a half bedtime with a 2-year-old.
Yeah.
No.
No, I'm not moving. I've been moving all day. I'm not moving anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's right. So our society just seems to assume that like diet and exercise is good for everybody. I mean, I'll say that too as a dietitian. If get into conversations, somebody on the airplane or in the grocery store, whatever, those like kind of meaningless conversations. Oh, what do you
Right.
do for work? And I'm like, do I want to say it? Okay, I'll say it. I'm a dietitian. And then they all, oh, you must eat so healthy.
Yeah.
You must help people lose weight. And they make all these assumptions as if dieting is inherently a good thing. We just can't
It's all
always,
that exists.
yeah,
It's that it's all that exists, and that more is better is,
more
like,
diet, more
really there.
exercise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. And so when this happens too much and your body's in an energy imbalance ultimately of you're exercising and moving so much and maybe eating not enough to support that, then your
I
menstrual cycle can go away, or you mentioned it can be on a spectrum, like light periods, very long, intermittent. Maybe those are all signs. What are some other signs that you have HA? Like, so is it just keeping track of your cycle?
That's the most black and white way, of
Mhm.
course, but some symptoms that people actually don't expect or realize that are very common in communities like yours. If you ever went to the doctor, or whenever you go to the doctor and they take your blood pressure and they're like, "Oh, you're so healthy. Your blood pressure is so low." No.
Sometimes it can
Your
be too low.
It's too low, and it's because it's downregulated, right? So that's one big one that, again, is tricky because you're getting praised for it,
Mhm.
but it definitely can be a sign. I mean, I tried to donate blood one time and they turned me away. So there was that.
Mhm. Heart
Obviously,
rate as well.
yes, heart rate
Mm.
low, and when like, side note, when women go into recovery, thanks to the help of their wearable watches and things, they see that their heart rate variability starts to go a little bit crazy before it improves. But yes, it can be definitely impacted. High cholesterol. So if you go get your annual labs done by your doctor, they flag your cholesterol, probably very confusing because you
Mhm.
already eat so healthy and so lean. And now you need to eat more healthy and more lean. But actually, no, your estrogen is just chronically low,
Mhm.
causing your cholesterol to be high.
Mhm.
Slow hair growth, not necessarily hair loss as much as just hair growth slows.
Mhm.
So it's thinner, nails are more brittle, more breakable, skin is dry. Obviously, no cervical mucus is being produced. So you're pretty dry down there too.
Mhm.
And one that's like a little bit harder to spot, but if you really reflect, you can probably find in yourself if you have HA or on the spectrum, is that you're food focused. So, oh, it's almost 12. What time is lunch? I can't wait to have my dinner. I'm going to hoard my food so I can eat more food in the evening. Like a big focus on that food control, irritability, and an inability to be spontaneous around things, especially food,
Mhm.
right? So your husband is like, "Want to go and just get a burger tonight?" And you're like, "I didn't plan for that.
Mhm.
No way." And it creates like a response, anxiety, fear, anger, frustration. These things are not you. They're a hungry version of you.
Mhm.
And that's one that sneaks up a little slower,
Yeah.
and it's so slow that you think it's your personality, but it's actually not.
Mhm.
So, little self-reflection there, if you're very controlling of food and there's a lot of stress and frustration around it, that's a major sign.
Yeah, because even just that term controlling food, there's a way that some people could hypothetically control food and it not bring about stress, irritability. I'm thinking about just me as a wife and a mother. I'm like, I do the food planning, I grocery shop, I cook the dinners, I make the lunches for my kiddo when he's off at childcare. Like, I control the food in my house, but it doesn't bring me tension. It doesn't bring
Hey.
me and when something goes off plan, my husband's like, "Screw the meal tonight. I want pizza." That doesn't bother me. I'm like, "Okay, easy. Done. I don't have to cook."
Yeah.
That's a control around food that I think is like there's some level of control around food that could be helpful, but when it's the control that it has to go my way perfectly at this time, and if it doesn't, that's a problem and it creates a physical response in your body too, an
Mhm.
emotional, mental, physical response. And I think this is just an interesting thing to touch on because when you talk about, yeah, like the symptoms and how to diagnose HA through the lack of a cycle or testing your estrogen or looking at your cholesterol, like you mentioned, but it's also looking at, symptoms in your lifestyle and your behaviors that over time, it's like, what does low estrogen over time? There's a connection of what that's doing to your body, not just physically, I'm missing my period, but how does this lack of hormones affect my brain and my mood? And that's where
True.
you're mentioning like that irritability comes
Yeah.
into play. It's like, that's not your personality. This is because your body isn't functioning properly.
The female brain in particular, just so estrogen reliant and
Mm,
estrogen dominant. And yes, you hear this like, call it crunchy, call it woo woo, and I'm not really that type of person, but when a woman is like in her, quote, feminine energy,
mhm,
they don't have HA. Like there is
right.
a very distinct difference between a
Mhm,
woman with chronic low estrogen and a woman with optimal, and you can see it. There is a woman with chronic low estrogen, there is a masculine energy, a rigidity,
Mhm.
a like lack of go with the flow.
Mm,
When we, as women inherently, to your point, right? You can manage the household. You can manage
mhm.
the 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 food, the what do we call it? Like the meal plan of the
Mhm.
week for the family.
Mhm.
But because you're able to, you have all of your estrogen and you're cycling beautifully and you're just like
It flows.
you're proliferating, right?
Mm,
And yes, it flows. You are also able to go with the flow and think more like there's less barriers and you're not as rigid, right? It's okay if when you go to the store, they don't have the yogurt you usually buy. Let's just buy this yogurt.
mhm.
Whereas that is the type of thing that someone who is always dieting it can't handle. And I think to your point, you had brought up like you can have control around food and not like lose your health. I think the perfect storm is when that control around food is linked directly with trying to eat less food.
Yeah.
And that seems to be really like the
Yeah.
perfect storm.
Yes. Yeah. Less food. Maybe we could also add in like it mostly is focused on less food, but also I think like the food fear is another like really like quality of
Orthorexia
food.
type.
Yes, yeah. Like maybe people do value like eating their calories and their protein, but and their carbs, but they're like scared of the ingredients, which,
Totally.
could also lead to then I need to control every ingredient. I need to control the cooking methods and where I'm eating. And then that, can lead us down that same path.
Yeah. It's a different type of restriction, right? It
Yeah.
may not be caloric restriction, but it's an ingredient restriction. And the brain picks up on this of we are not allowed to have this food is not abundant. And people with a situation like that, which many people listening can resonate with, they'll fear it so much that they, if in a situation where they don't have access to those foods that they
Mhm.
approve of, they will instead choose to not eat at
Right. And so it,
right
it still
until
leads to restriction. Exactly.
regularly. Yeah.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. That's where the food fear there's a variety of reasons as to why it's an issue, but I'm always like, I don't know, there's just a conversation going on right now about like food colorings and food dyes. And
Yeah.
so the thing is, it's like, okay, look, if you can, if it's that important to you to eliminate it from your diet, okay, but like you still have to do so in a way that doesn't create more stress and that you're not restricting, you
Yeah.
know? And so then it's like if you're going to come to that sense of like I can't have food dyes and therefore you're just not eating enough or at the right times or you're isolating in a social situation, like I'm not eating and everybody else is, that's where the restriction comes into play, which can be ultimately what I'm hearing too is like that's a root of HA is there's some sort of restriction on the food and there's too much movement and that's leading to all of
Yes.
this and then loss of a menstrual cycle. So just curious, is that part of your story and why you became so passionate about this?
Of course. Of course. I lost my period for like 7 years, I think.
Yeah.
That's like when I can think back to, but it could have been longer. I was an Olympic weightlifter in Australia at the time, and at about 18, I had started to, like, really control food. So I had done all the things from keto or actually, I never did keto. I did Whole30, I did paleo, just, like, super clean eating. I did calories, I did macros, and macros was probably the one I did for the longest, macro tracking. And somewhere early on, I lost my period. The exact moment, I don't even know, but I remember thinking, knowing why, understanding why,
You
just
did. Mm.
intuitively, yeah, which not a lot of people do, but, I was not on any kind of birth control. I've never been on any birth control. I didn't have anything to confuse it with,
Right.
and I had heard, that happens to athletes, and so I was like, "Well, I'm an athlete,"
Mhm.
which is something that I wanted to be, and so, in fact, I saw that as a sign of success.
Mm.
Look at me, I'm working hard enough to lose my menstrual cycle, which at the time I thought was like an optional extra. so it's fine. I
Mm.
only need this to have a baby. I didn't understand that it was important. So went a long time without it. And honestly, fine. Like, hear this, people. You might feel totally fine. You
Mhm.
might be a bit anxious as a person. I had all of those irritability traits, but I wasn't in any kind of pain. It was quite convenient to me.
Mhm.
You can go a long time without having it kind of catch up with you. And it wasn't until I went to an OBGYN visit by the time I had moved here to the States, and my OBG was just like, "How's your periods?" Which no one had ever asked me,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
And I said, "I don't have any. Look at me." And
Mhm.
he was like, "Well, we worry about that.
Mhm.
That's a problem." But that's all he said. He didn't have a name for it. He didn't have an explanation. He didn't ask me anything about my lifestyle. He just prescribed me progesterone,
Mm.
which is a pretty common course of action.
Mhm.
And, like many people will resonate with, I'm not interested in entering into the medical world and now being someone on medication.
Yeah.
While progesterone is a one-time thing, I knew so again, intuitively, I knew that's not a solution to what's happening.
Yeah.
I know why I have this, and I have associated myself as being a healthy person
Mhm.
and a naturally healthy person. I appreciate like paleo and eating in an ancestral diet, and like I value these things. So that was the moment that I started to research. But it's not as simple as, oh, that's the problem. Let me just eat more and exercise less. It's just not
Yeah.
that simple.
Because the person who likes to exercise more and control their food is not going to easily just do the exact opposite.
Not a
Right.
chance. Not a chance. I researched my face off at the time, found very little information. There's
Mhm.
so much more information now,
Mhm.
but very little was coming across, okay, hypothalamic amenorrhea. What's that? Oh, eat more? Like
None.
exercise less, gain weight. This is a pretty common journey for people. They hear about it and they go, I hear you, but not me.
Right.
Not for me. Imma try other stuff. Let's do,
Right.
like, bone broth. Let's do, like,
There's gotta be another
ashwagandha.
way. Yeah.
I know, and I understand. So everyone goes through that. Someone listening today, it's them, but they're only hearing this for, like, the first time,
Mhm.
and they're gonna be in denial. Very normal.
Mm.
You're gonna keep looking for information to tell you a different answer.
Yeah.
That's what I did, but I kept coming up to the same answer.
Mhm.
So in the end, I began that process of training less and eating more and doing it slowly. I didn't kind of do it all at once because that
Mhm.
was really difficult.
Mhm.
Got to the other side, finally, with lots of tribulations,
Mhm.
and thought to myself, that was the hardest thing I have ever done. And there was no help.
Mhm.
Looks like I just found a gap in the market. And then
Yes.
off we went back to school and kind of work creating the Hypothalamic Amenorrhea podcast and building community and then creating a coaching practice to really help women through that simple but challenging process.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I think it just needs to be hit on one more time because I can't even begin to express how many girls, women, athletes, and clients over the years, have had that same reaction of like, how do I fix my hormones, get my period back? But I don't just want to gain tons of weight and eat more
Mhm.
food. That feels really uncomfortable. I'm already full. That much food can't possibly be healthy. And they really struggle to give up exercise. I shouldn't say give up, reduce.
Mm.
And because I do work with athletes. So in my experience, I've worked with many athletes who do not stop exercise, but we do exercise smarter because
Yeah.
to exercise in a smart way, you're still resting your body.
Mhm.
You're still taking active recovery days. You're not having hard days every single day.
You're doing a better job of fueling the activity, whereas in the
And
past, you just wouldn't.
mhm, you were always fueling for your activity and always recovering after your activity, sometimes even fueling during your activity. So That's what, yeah, as you mentioned, people researching might find the answer is like exercise less or stop and eat more.
Mm,
And I think that is the answer. However, like you mentioned, you did it kind of slowly. Maybe that works for some people. Other people are just like, nope,
yep,
all in right now. Gonna go all in, gonna stop all exercise, gonna eat all the food. Great. Other people, maybe it's a slow thing because it's a journey, like you mentioned. And for others, it's still the answer, but yet maybe our approach is like, okay, well, I'm not gonna make my own workout plans anymore because I just crush myself. I'm gonna hire a trainer
yeah,
who's going to do this in a smart way and guide me, and I'm gonna follow their
yeah,
plans, right? Like just exercising smarter.
yeah,
But
yeah.
it's so hard for people to do that.
It is really hard. I find the approach often to just be goal specific, right? So if you want to have a baby, then like, why are we bothering with,
Mm.
trying to run faster or get stronger? Like, they're just, let's just move into a different phase right now, and then we can come back into that.
Mhm,
If you're not trying to get pregnant, it's more reasonable to take that progressive approach. And so we use the fertility awareness method to track signs and symptoms and make sure, okay, if you're going to continue running, for example, let's at least track what your baseline temperatures are, how your cervical mucus
mhm,
is going from zero to something. And each time, if you are not making progress, let's add more food. Let's make us another adjustment. Let's move your training from the morning to the evening till we can kind of chip away
mhm,
at, getting evidence that this is working or not. On occasion, there is someone where we're like, look, I think your body is just not okay with the running. Let's just take 4 weeks, right? Like just hard reset, take 4 weeks and then come back. But yeah, it's not like that anyone has to completely just sit on the couch and do nothing.
mhm.
But if
I think when
you're
people are researching,
oh,
that's what they think. Yeah, that's what they
it
think they have to do.
yeah, it's definitely like a fad approach
Yeah.
that some people take, and, power to you if you wanna do that.
Oh,
I
yeah,
don't
I'm not
think
gonna stop you if you wanna do that. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, for sure, and if you're trying to get pregnant, like, tomorrow,
Yeah,
maybe it
do
is
that.
the fastest route. Do that. Yeah,
Right.
but that's definitely not everyone. That's probably only half of our client base is trying to get pregnant now. So that
Yeah.
approach, is
Let's chat about that. If you're not let's talk about because like, if you're not trying to get pregnant, why do you need to have your hormones? Why should you recover from HA? Fans, I'm pausing the conversation again to check in on you. Are you concerned that you have REDS? That's relative energy deficiency in sport. It's a syndrome of not ideal health consequences and performance consequences that all stem from the idea that you're not fueling optimally or fueling enough for your sport needs. I've become an expert in this over the years because unfortunately, a lot of female athletes struggle with this. We have research that shows sometimes up to 90% of female athletes might be suffering from at least one of the side effects of REDS. Other research says that up to 45% of female athletes are struggling with disordered eating. These are big statistical numbers, and I don't like it. I'm here to help you become fierce, fit, and fueled. So first and foremost, head to lindseycortes.com/REDS to learn more about REDS, listen to past podcast episodes, and take our free REDS quiz to see if this might be a concern for you. From there, I've got 3 ways to help you. 1, download the REDS Recovery Guide and start taking action right away. 2, join our REDS Recovery membership. For a very affordable $15 a month, you will have access to me as a sports dietitian to educate and empower you to fuel better. We meet once a week for live calls, Q&A. You have access to the recordings if you can't join live, and a community group chat to support, encourage, and motivate you along the way to fuel fiercely. Last, spots are limited for one-on-one help, but I can help you personally through one-on-one coaching, be it my Fast Track program, the Female Athlete System of Transformation, or perhaps Fuel School, depending on your age. All of that is on my website, lindseycortes.com. But because one-on-one spots are limited, I really want to encourage you to join the REDS Recovery membership. We live in a world where it's very easy to just pop online, read an article, listen to a podcast, and I think we do a decent job at getting information out there, but we all need someone to talk to and really ask those personal questions And also be open and honest in a community that's going to support you in your fueling needs and goals. And that's exactly what this membership is. So only $15 a month. We meet once a week and you will be provided with so much education and empowerment and support. I know you won't regret joining. Head to lindseycortes.com/reds and there you will see the Reds Recovery membership that you can join and join us this week. It's time for you to be fierce, fit, and fueled.
Yeah. Well, I mean, all those symptoms we talked about earlier, like those suck, right?
Yeah.
So there's that. But this has long-term detriment. The good news is HA is fully reversible. And I'm really yet to find someone who's had it for too long that they can't resolve it,
Mhm.
within a reasonable age timeframe. But bone density, heart health, we're finding more and more connections between your brain health, which we kind of talked about earlier too, right?
Mhm.
And these detriments, like when you meet someone, because we work with a lot of women who've had eating disorders, right?
Mhm.
They are different, a different breed. They're not thinking and functioning and seeing things clearly. There are major cognitive issues, major physical challenges that
Mhm.
come up from long term, that the longer you go, the harder it is to reverse those issues.
Yeah.
But
And again,
it's
even if you're not somebody who resonates with having an eating disorder, the body might be experiencing the same thing physically and there's a variety of eating disorders. So, yeah, I think with the HA, it's like even and you might have an eating disorder or you do and you don't realize it or you don't resonate with that. However, if your body is malnourished, similar in a similar physical regard to somebody with a malnourished eating disorder, then your body's experiencing that same thing. And to your point, yes, there are estrogen receptors in your brain. There's estrogen receptors in your muscle. There's estrogen receptors in your bone. I know for athletes that I work with, we often speak about the risk of bone injuries, bone stress injuries, low bone mineral density. If you're missing your period for long enough that estrogen is not there to help your bones, you're at a high risk of stress fractures and bone injuries as an athlete, especially those high impact sports where you're jumping and running. However, I've had plenty of athletes that are like, my bone density is great. I haven't had my period for 5 years, but I
I
did a
was not.
bone scan. And yeah, and that's probably because you were a weightlifter,
Yeah.
gymnast, like great bone density. I was a gymnast when I was younger, great bone density. But let's remember estrogen's not just for reproduction and it's not just for bones. I love how you're tying that into your brain health and honestly, cognitive functioning. And maybe right now, if you've only been missing your menstrual cycle for 2 years, maybe that's just a little bit of like irritability, slow reaction time. But what does a 20 years of this have an impact? It's
Just yeah,
it does.
and while I also never had a ED,
Mhm.
right? There's something because none of the coaches, we have 4 coaches on our team, none of us have had a diagnosed eating disorder. And we won't work with anyone who has an active one, but they can have had a recovered one in the past. And while it's different, I can connect with like, "Oh, yeah, I felt that way.
Mhm.
I thought that way." I can see how I had the exact same thought processes, emotions, but just on a different intensity,
Mhm.
right? Where, like, there's kind of it I can get out of it. It's
Mhm.
not at that stage yet. It's harder for them to get out of it, significantly more work.
Mhm.
But, like, it's there, right? So let it go for long enough, and that's gonna be pretty hard and grained. And another really important, the most important reason, in my personal opinion, to recover, that is the hardest to sell people on, is that I actually promise you that life is better on the other side of it. And every single person fears it. They're like, every single person seems to fear. That's not true. Some people know. Okay. 80% of people fear healing. It's incredible, but it's understandable. Because healing might mean weight gain, which makes me less special, which makes me not seen, which makes me not as important. And this is deep, right? Because like weight is connected to like socioeconomical status and safety and it's so many things that people connect it to. So the amount of fear associated with choosing to not be, quote, perfect in every way to the standard of
Mhm.
our society is deathly terrifying. And everyone thinks they're sacrificing. I need to sacrifice my exercise obsession. I need to sacrifice my food control. I need to sacrifice my super lean body, which caveat, you don't have to have a super lean body to have HA, but
Mhm.
they feel that or they're even sacrificing that dream, right? You get to the other side and you're like, oh, this is great. Like, oh, extraordinarily more amounts of happiness are available to me on the other side of a sandwich. Who knew?
Mhm. Well, it's interesting because I'm having this conversation. I've only got a small handful of clients right now, and I'm having this conversation with one of them who she's very active, but she's not, a high performance athlete. Her involvement in exercise and sport is for her enjoyment in life.
Hmm.
And so it's not like I can use the tactic of get your period back so that you can perform better. Like we've worked on her nutrition, so she's fueling in a way that she is able to engage in the exercise and the sport and the hiking the way that she wants to.
Right.
And then she isn't planning, doesn't want to have children. That's not an interest to hers and isn't something that she's, at that point in her life where she doesn't believe or necessarily want that, right?
Yeah.
So then and by the way, I want to share a little bit about this client without giving anything away, but her HA has been going on for 20 plus years.
Yep.
A long time.
Mm.
So it's something that, she knows I work with younger clients and she's like, I understand why they want to get it back because they want to set themselves up for success and health. But like, I've made it this far without it. Like, why now?
Mm.
And the conversation I had with her is kind of exactly what you were just saying. And I told her, I said, look, I don't have any great scientific articles for you right now. So I am going to speak anecdotally, but life is better because your body's functioning better. That this is how your body was meant to move, perform, think, your internal health, the way you show up to your family, your friends, your mood, your happiness. It's like hormones affect that. And I don't know if you have anything to add, but it goes along with what you're saying of like, I just know that her potential as a human being was probably to be optimized. And now look, women our potential as human beings, there's a point in our lives where our certain hormones change, right? Perimenopause, menopause, and our bodies are able to handle that. There's other things that go on. Childbirth is crazy, hysterectomies, like things happen in a woman's life. So I'm not saying like, that there's this one, like we must have all these hormones all the time to be at our full potential. That's not true. But it's something that in this particular client, I'm saying, but at this point in your life, your body does have the capacity to have its menstrual cycle.
Yeah.
And therefore, it would be so amazing to have it and see what optimized health and wellness looks like for you. Because there comes a day when menopause will hit, and then you can be optimized for that stage, right?
Yes, you're preparing yourself for that for sure by
Yeah.
getting in check. And I mean, she knows deep inside that it's a bit of a ticking time bomb. But these are the hardest situations. Absolutely. I've
Mhm.
had it for this long. I've gotten this far. I don't have family and intentions to grow my family. I'm not in a lot of pain, right? Like, exactly. If this is a painless problem for you physically or emotionally, like it's way harder to implement. This is where, first of all, if someone doesn't want to heal at the like it's actually just that's their prerogative, right?
Right.
But if they're coming to us and they're saying, I want this, right? And a
Mhm.
part of your counseling together is talking about the why.
Mhm.
Somewhere deep inside, they know that they
Mhm.
want it because they're here.
Mhm.
So we're always coming back to like a common example, might
Mhm.
not be for this person, but a common example is like, I just don't want to give up my exercise, or I don't want to change my, my super clean eating
Mhm,
because I still want to be healthy. Fascinating.
mhm.
But this is what it comes down to. I still, oh my gosh, what's the word? Like, appreciate and value my health. I don't like want to, so we often come back to, okay, weight gain equals not being healthy to you. Okay. So like there's a narrative issue here. And also, Stacy, if you really, truly value health,
Mhm.
you would do this.
Right.
This is a common one for running, like not running, sorry, just exercisers, athletes in general. If your actual health and even your actual performance,
Mhm.
is actually your goal, you would do this.
Right.
But you are not doing this.
Because hormones are
So yes, because this is actually, you're objectively not healthy. We know this. So you're saying you want to be healthy. So what is this actually about?
yeah,
Actually about weight gain for
yeah,
a lot of people, right? When we get down to it.
yeah. I remember I led a group call with clients. It was actually a few years ago, but I just mic dropped on all of them because we had a conversation about fast food, and
Mm.
I challenged all of them to eat fast food, right? And they're all freaking out. Like,
Yeah.
"No, you're our dietitian. We're not gonna eat fast food, blah, blah, blah. I'm not going to McDonald's. I would never go to McDonald's," and all this stuff. And it came down to why? I was like, "Why?" "Because it's not healthy." "Oh, so you're healthier for not going to McDonald's? Meanwhile, you're undernourished, underfueled, your hormones are shot, and you've got disordered eating behaviors." I was like, "I go to McDonald's. I've got my hormones." And I'm just using this as an example. I'm not trying to be that dietitian that says you have to eat McDonald's. That's not, but it's what I'm trying to say is objectively, yes, to your point, their clients are like, "I wanna be healthy, but I don't wanna give up my exercise, but I would never eat fast food." Well, but you're not healthy because you're holding on to these things that are actually hurting you. I mean, it's wild when you go down this road because it goes against everything that society tells us is healthy.
And this is sadly why coaching and dietitians and, people like, it feels kind of weird that we need so much support with something should be innate within us, but we do because of
Mhm.
conditioning. And they, and I fully understand it because I was this person too. We have no idea how contradicting we are
Mhm.
and how like we don't make any sense. They have no idea that in their pursuit of health, they're getting less healthy and they're like suddenly having to eat, what is it, like red dye 6 or something? I don't know what, having to eat any of
Yeah.
these things that conjure up this like narrative of less health. That is a bigger fear than the thing that is actively happening to you
And
right now.
actively hurting them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on a total lack of awareness of it, and
Mm.
that was part of what got me through was this. As I was chipping away at this, I would have constant internal dialogue and I'd journal like twice a day, just getting my streams of consciousness out on paper
Mhm.
because this conversation you have in your head for every single person, like healthy or not, our internal conversations are like pretty delusional sometimes. So putting it down on paper, I could see,
Mhm.
wow, like I'm really fighting this, but what I want is to be healthy, and I fear weight gain so much that I'm almost willing to give up my health in order to be thin, and I had to really come to Jesus about that
Mhm.
and eventually decide, the person I wanna be puts my health first above the opinions of others,
Mhm.
and as difficult as that was, that's the person I want to be, so I chose to act as if. Until
Mhm.
it became true,
Mhm.
and that's what a lot of people have to do, and
Mhm.
they don't have to, but if they wanna get to the other side of health, there's no magic
Mhm.
pill. They they have to do it for themselves, and they're not gonna, that's the other part that's hard. When you're dieting, when your weight goes down, when you look more ripped, when you run a faster time, when people see you out exercising, you get thumbs up, applause, congratulations, comments, and compliments. You're not going to get that when you choose yourself. When you
Well,
truly
you will
choose,
from people like me and people like you.
yeah. Which is why your online community going through this is so important
Right. It
because
is.
no one will support you like a bunch of women you've never met on the internet.
Yep. 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 One of my clients and my small clients right now, my small group of them, but, just posted about getting ice cream because that was good for her to do, right?
Yeah.
Like, she's like, "Got ice cream. I'm so proud of myself," and that's good for her to do, and we're all like, "You go, girl," and then, one of my other clients is like, "You're motivating to me. I'm gonna challenge
Yes.
myself too," so it's really, really important to have that community. So tell us more about your community since you offer that, the HA Society. Tell us more about what you
Yeah.
are doing over there and the community you have.
Yes. After launching my podcast, the next thing I did, like the very first part of the community I did was create the HA Society, which is a platform that is filled with women who are in recovery recently or who have been recovered. And we do multiple a week community calls.
Mhm,
And we have 4 coaches on our team. So all of us host. So we have different styles. And women can come in and just like, we'll guide them through a topic or discussion, or we'll even just have like an open forum. What's hard for you? Where are you at? What can we work through? And really try to, have everyone leave that call feeling not alone, because that's a big one, feeling inspired, feeling supported. And then there's just resources, information, what is HA? Like, what is happening to you? Why is your cholesterol high? Like, all of these different modules that we have in there. I try to keep it simple. So it's really a message board, some modules, and community calls.
mhm,
And I just want people to do all of that and then join the calls all the way through to the end. And it's incredible. I obviously had an intuition that community was important
mhm,
when I started it, but to actually witness how people will say, I couldn't have gotten through it without the community,
mhm,
kind of like, wow, like we just got on some calls a few times a week. But
mhm,
no, we really need that to stay focused and see other. There's just something about knowing you're not the only person.
mhm, mhm.
That's what we're
And
doing.
and something about getting outside of your own mind, like you mentioned, like you had to journal like twice a day as you were going through this process because your own thoughts were probably fighting against what recovery needed. And so being able to one, not be alone, but also just be able to express those
Yeah.
thoughts and know, okay, I'm not like I got it out of my head. I'm not crazy.
I think there's something about passing it down to you. So there's this process of like you're new to the process and the community and you're struggling and you have these questions. And then you get to a certain point and now you're helping someone else with at that stage because you're further along.
Mm-hmm.
And now like you're not only receiving this and trying to learn this, but now you're passing it to others.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just becoming ingrained and it's becoming a new way of thinking. And I think it helps to rewire you
Yeah.
neurologically.
Yeah, you learn the process yourself, and it does when you're then sharing it and teaching others, it's you go through it all again and you, like, up level yourself. And I think this is great that your HA Society is for no matter kind of what stage you're in, because even when you do recover, sometimes you still need support. In a lot of my clients, like a gal I was working with this summer, she actually did step away from exercise. It was summertime. She's a collegiate athlete, but she stopped, and that was the right decision for her and restored her menstrual cycle. But then she got back to school and she's in a fall sport. So she started training again. And so a lot of people might recover from HA. And then since they're recovered, well, life changes now. Now I'm going to train again, or now I'm going to get pregnant and other things happen. That way I still need support.
Totally.
Right? So I
Yeah,
think that just being recovered, having that community that you can still get support even when you are recovered is so important.
completely, and it's a different journey. The going from no period to a period is actually its own thing,
Mhm.
separate to 1 period to 6 months of period or 6 periods, and then 12. And you change as a person, you gain more perspective, your cycle becomes more robust, you're able to, like, do more with less repercussions on your menstrual cycle, and you're just slowly like reintegrating back into real life. And there are people who stay a strong part of the community for a long time, but the average person, you know, it's a big part of their life for a year, and then they're like free, and it's amazing. And
Mhm.
this is something that they know about and will pass on to other people and will never forget and will identify in someone else from a mile away and help that person. But now they get to like move on with their life without anxiety, fear, and now with a ton of tools, like actual tools that they can use to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Mhm.
It's incredible to like watch women just transform.
Yeah, it really is. I think that's been one of the most rewarding things in my journey too. Is like it's so exciting when somebody gets their period after the first time, maybe like they've been missing their period for 4 years or something, and they message you, just got my period. And it's like we celebrate, right? But then it's a new phase now. Okay, now we
It's
gotta keep
fun,
your period. Right? Now we're in a
which
new
is hard.
phase.
Yeah.
It's like it's this huge celebration. Then it's like we're not done yet. There's a new you enter the new phase.
'Cause it creates new fears that you didn't know you could unlock. Because the second one is, "Oh, well, now I don't have HA, so how can I justify this rest and this," and now we have to kind of troubleshoot the justification of maintaining your health, which is sometimes more difficult.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And in your group too, so you've got people working towards recovery, people who
Mm.
are recovered and on that next phase of maintaining their cycle. But you also, like you mentioned, you do fertility awareness. So are there a lot of women in your group that are, working towards fertility goals and to have children and get pregnant, trying to conceive?
Yeah, our whole thing really is the fertility awareness as
Okay.
an objective third party, like, you can't argue with it tool, right?
Mhm.
Because we just need that. So whether they're an athlete or a teenager at college,
Mhm.
all the way through to trying to get pregnant or even on their second, they're able to use the fertility awareness method. We're not fertility awareness educators of any particular method, but we use it as a diagnostic tool to help see how, recovery is progressing and
Okay.
to try to get pregnant. So,
Mhm.
like, I have done certifications and things, but I'm not, it's like a 6 to 8 year course kind of thing to become an
Mhm.
actual certified fertility awareness educator.
Mhm.
But still use the exact same method.
Mhm.
And so it just depends on their goals, but the chart is usable for any phase of your life for as long as you have a menstrual cycle. And I love it for that. So women are in there using it. And we actually have a certification now. So other women can become coaches or, if they are health practitioners or dietitians of some other kind, they
Yeah.
can have this information. And so we teach them to use that. And those students are also in the community, helping, learning, and using those tools to make recommendations and give ideas to people.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
excellent. I think this is so needed. My when I grew up and like hit puberty, I just feel like I wasn't properly educated on the menstrual cycle at all. And then it's like it was just pushed that if you don't want to have children, obviously
Right.
abstinence or birth control, and just like not understanding your cycle and like what it takes to be fertile or be fertile but not have children. Like, and so it just understanding your cycle, these signs, these symptoms, what is cervical mucus? What does my body temperature have to do with it? And there's a normal, but then there's your normal that comes with tracking it and being aware with
Yeah.
your body. And I I'll just share I'm as of recording this podcast, right? I'm 36. I only started learning this when I was like 28 years old.
Yeah. Yeah, same. That's everyone.
I
Yeah,
think it's everyone, and I really want I and there's some through my clients, I tend to have a younger clientele, not all. I've got quite a handful of women in their late 30s and early 40s, but I tend to have a lot of high school and college girls, and I want them to know this and understand this because it's so empowering. It's
yeah,
so empowering, and it feels good too. Like, I feel like kinda going back to the start of our conversation, this like intuitiveness, this like feminine energy. Like there's science to it. Like it might sound woo woo, my feminine energy, but I'm also like, no, scientifically, I understand my cycle and my hormones and my levels and
Mhm.
where they're at. And I feel the best
Yeah.
right now. I mean, minus the sleep deprivation of having little kids, but otherwise I feel amazing
Yeah.
compared to when I had no clue what was going on with my cycle or when I was on birth control. And I'm not bashing, there's a time and a place and a reason for prescription and other interventions. But, it's just so like, wow, man, we need this fertility awareness that you're speaking of and that you have in your HA society, I think is really empowering for women to understand and to learn for their bodies.
Yeah. It's cool to watch them get into it. And just become like experts at it and at their own body. And I think you brought up something that reminded me of a really great point. Learning to chart through this process is one of the first times that women are able to somehow have like communication and dialogue with their own body. It's like
Mhm.
the only way for their body to speak back to them. Because
Mhm.
using the chart, you can see how your training is affecting you, how your sleep is affecting you, how your eating is affecting you. It's an art to learn how to interpret it and then figure out like what it's saying, but you're learning to talk to it. And so eventually, when you're cycling and like suddenly your luteal phase goes from an ideal like 13 days down to 10, you're like, "Oh, body, you're saying something to me.
Mhm.
Let's reflect on what's going on and let's work on this together."
Mhm.
You've never been able to do that. And now you can do that. And so it's
Mhm.
empowering and it's hard to argue with because we tell everyone you can't argue with each other. You can't argue. It's a reflection of your life. Ain't nothing you can do or say. You
Uh-huh.
can tell me all the time, like I just really haven't changed anything. Nothing. You can do that all you want.
Mhm. Something has changed, yeah.
Something is changing and it's not getting better month over month or whatever.
Mhm.
So it's like it's kind of taking away this like mm, you know,
The
when you're
subjective
not
takes away the
yeah,
subjective, yeah,
yeah.
and the drama and the stories we tell ourselves in our head. Wow, really fascinating. Well, in the interest of time, anything else you wanna share where we can find you? It's called the HA Society podcast, right?
No, it's called
Oh,
the Hypothalamic Amenorrhea podcast.
there we go. Thank you.
Yes, go
Hypothalamic
find
Amenorrhea
it.
podcast.
Yeah, go figure out how to spell it, have a crack. Google will probably fix it for you. It's a tough word to write, but
Mhm.
you know, you'll learn it and you'll never forget it.
Yeah.
We have that. We have a website full of resources. So everything from like what is HA to like how long might it take me to recover to a 7-day kickoff challenge. Like if you are
Mm.
doing this for the first time and you need to know all of the steps for like your first week of I'm getting my period back. I have a whole challenge that people can do and you can find
I
all
love
of
that.
it at the hasociety.com.
I love the 7-day challenge. Yeah, because it's like we make a decision. I'm gonna work on this now. Today's day 1, and then it's like, "What do I do?"
Yeah. It's like, okay, you
Brilliant.
gotta go shopping. All right. Day two, we gotta look at what you're doing with the exercise. We gotta talk to the people in our life about what's going on. How do we ask them for support? Because they ain't gonna get it.
Mhm.
These are all important steps that if you can like bust them out in 7 days, you're gonna be way more set up for success.
Amazing, Danny. Thank you for providing this community and all these resources for people because it is niche as we said it's not talked about often or your doctor did say oh that's not good but just gave you medication and so resources and communities that you have built are so powerful who need it so definitely listeners in the show notes we've got her website we'll include maybe the link to that 7-day kickoff challenge and definitely reach out if you need more support. Danny, before I let you go, we've got some fun questions. You ready?
Yes.
If there's one food you could eat every single day for the rest of your life and never get sick of it, what would it be?
Spaghetti bolognese.
So good. We make
Yeah.
we do a homemade bolognese at my house for special occasions. So
I do
good.
it every week.
Oh wow. Does it take you a long time? Like ours is like a 5-hour process.
No, and I know
Right.
bolognese is one of those amazing things that
It's
there's the 5-minute version
okay.
and there's the, like, simmer for many hours
Yes.
version.
That's why we do it for special occasions, because we do the simmer
Yeah.
for 5 hours
Yeah. I'm
version,
sure
but
it's
it's
really good.
so good, so good. What is your favorite sport to participate in?
Pickleball,
Oh, so fun.
obsessed with it. We're in the capital. Yeah.
Amazing. And how about as a spectator? You have a favorite sport to watch?
Pickleball. No, like y'all listeners of my show know it's a massive part of my life. It was like
Great.
my reintroduction into being an athlete. And so I'm like
Yeah.
all in. Yeah.
I love it. Love it. You've got that athlete mindset all in.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if there's a female athlete out there you want to give a shout out to for being an inspiration, a role model for any reason whatsoever, who would that be and why?
My gosh, I've never had this question. And so I don't know, probably two come to mind.
Yeah.
But I can't think of her name right. But everyone knows her. Is it like Iona, the rugby player?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, she's
And Lona
amazing.
Mar. Mhm.
Yeah, she's amazing
I love her.
for obvious reasons. And then there's Annalie Waters. She is just a amazing. She's considered one of the greatest athletes of all time, though you may have never heard of her.
No, I haven't.
She's a super young. She's the best pickleball player in the world. Okay,
Okay.
she's been pro since she was 12. But the reason she gets a shout out is she's all in on her sport. She is not showy. She is not trying to impress anyone. She is sponsored by menstrual, like, U tampons, and she's loud and proud about the fact that, women have periods and they should, even as a high level athlete. And I don't think I think she's really just partnering with a product and promoting it, but I don't think she fully realizes the
That
importance
means. Yeah.
of doing that. And so I appreciate that about her.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I'll have to
Yeah.
look into her and I'll have to get into pickleball a bit more.
You don't have to. You're moving. But
My mom, I'm moving closer to my parents. My mom plays pickleball. So maybe I'll pick it up with her.
absolutely. Absolutely.
Awesome, Dani. Well, thank you so much for this conversation. It was amazing.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much for listening, and I really hope you enjoyed that episode. Please help spread the message of empowering female athletes to be fierce, fit, and fueled by giving this podcast a 5-star review and leaving a comment. You can also help more female athletes by sending this episode to a friend. Head to lindseycortes.com for more resources, information, more episodes, ways to work together, downloadable guides and ebooks. And if you're interested in becoming a guest on the show or have a guest suggestion, head to lindseycortes.com/podcast, and there's a form for you to fill out to get on the show. Hey, there's more resources on my YouTube channel, Female Athlete Nutrition, Instagram at female.athlete.nutrition, and private Facebook group, Female Athlete Nutrition. I think you get the point. I'm here to support female athletes by fueling better and becoming fierce, fit, and fueled. Most importantly, if you need help, reach out. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next show.